You are standing before one of the greatest architectural marvels in human history, a labyrinth of nearly 10,000 rooms, known as the Forbidden City. However, there is a reality that movies and romance novels often conceal within this vast complex of ultimate power. There is not a single fixed toilet, nor does a permanent sewage system exist. Why did those who held the absolute power of an entire empire accept living in a space that was essentially deadlocked in terms of sanitation? Was this a baffling paradox left by the era's greatest architects, or a calculated secret hidden beneath the golden tiles? Today, we will step behind the red walls to uncover a dark truth. Where architecture ended, ritual took over, turning a basic human necessity into a sophisticated tool of dominance and surveillance. Let's travel back 600 years to the time when the Son of Heaven ruled the world from this very spot. The Forbidden City stands as a colossal symbol of imperial power, spanning nearly 178 acres in the heart of Beijing. Looking down from above, it appears as a vast sea of golden glazed tiles shimmering under the sun, resting atop deep red walls that symbolize luck and eternal vitality. Every palace gate and courtyard is arranged with absolute symmetry along a central axis, creating a sense of overwhelming order. With nearly 10,000 rooms, this complex was designed to be a palace in the clouds, a place so grand and meticulous that it felt entirely detached from the mundane world. The interior is an exhibition of ultimate luxury, with floors paved in golden bricks and pillars wrapped in gold leaf, all crafted to emphasize the divine status of the emperor. However, behind this flawless architectural perfection lies a detail that defies all modern logic. Within a labyrinth of 10,000 rooms, designed with the most advanced techniques of the Ming and Qing dynasties, there is not a single fixed toilet to be found. In a place where every drainage pipe and ventilation brick was calculated to the fraction of an inch, the complete absence of a permanent sanitation system stands as a baffling paradox. It seems impossible that the most powerful figures in the empire, living amidst such unparalleled luxury, inhabited a world where the very concept of a restroom was intentionally erased from the blueprints. Behind the gold bricks, what secret belief made a toilet the ultimate enemy of the throne? Let's explore the reason. The absence of toilets in the Forbidden City was not a matter of convenience, but a necessity to uphold the core principles of imperial ritual. First and foremost, the presence of a permanent toilet would have shattered the illusion of a body without needs. Within the strict hierarchy of the court royalty, especially noblewomen were required to appear as flawless ethereal beings existing almost beyond the constraints of a physical body. To the Qing and Ming dynasties, the emperor and his consorts were not merely humans. They were symbols of divine purity. This mindset led to a total denial of biology. Any manifestation of physical necessity, such as hunger fatigue or excretion, was viewed as a form of social failure or a descent into common vulgarity. Having a fixed, dedicated space for impurity would be a permanent admission that these divine figures possessed mundane earthly needs. In the eyes of the court, a permanent latrine was a constant reminder of human weakness that could not be allowed to exist within the palace walls. To maintain this absolute concealment, the empire replaced infrastructure with artistry. Instead of restrooms, they utilized commodes that were masterpieces of craftsmanship. These vessels were lacquered inlaid with gold and disguised to look like luxurious pieces of furniture. By transforming a biological necessity into a highly regulated and aesthetic ritual, the imperial family could maintain their refined facade even in their most private moments. The goal was simple: to ensure that the stench of the mortal world never had a physical place to reside, preserving the sanctity of the imperial image. But was purity the only goal, or was there a darker system of surveillance hidden behind these golden vessels? Join me in part 3, in the rigid and highly calculated structure of the Forbidden City. biological functions were never treated as private matters. Instead, they were elevated to the status of state affairs. The absence of fixed private toilets was not an accidental omission, but a deliberate mechanism to eliminate blind spots within the imperial palace. By forcing the most personal acts to be performed via mobile commodes, the Qing and Ming dynasties ensured that no physical process could occur without the presence and documentation of the system. This transformed the simple act of excretion into a monitored administrative procedure where the body of the individual no longer belonged to themselves, but was a vessel belonging entirely to the state. This infrastructure of surveillance followed a strict military-like sequence vividly exemplified in the daily life of Emperor Qianlong. When the emperor required the vessel, he did not move toward a designated room. Rather, a silent signal was passed to a specialized group of eunuchs from the Department of Imperial Household. Immediately, a team coordinated their movements with absolute precision. One group deployed ornate silk screens to carve out a temporary sacred space within the Grand Hall, while another brought in the official casket. Throughout the act, a designated scribe remained outside the screen, ready to archive the exact time and nature of the event. Once finished, the emperor remained untouched by the mundane. Eunuchs used the finest silk or specialized paper treated with fragrances to perform the cleansing. The vessel was then whisked away, and the scene erased, ensuring the emperor remained a living deity whose physical needs were managed entirely by the state. Beyond the emperor, this infrastructure of surveillance relied heavily on the role of eunuchs to strictly monitor the consorts. Every time a member of the royal family required a commode, it was an event witnessed and recorded. The state needed to track every detail of a consort's physical condition, from basic health indicators to the precise tracking of menstrual cycles. Such meticulous records were not for medical care alone. They served to ensure that the purity of the imperial presence was never compromised. Any sign of physical impurity would mean the individual was temporarily unfit to approach the emperor, preserving the ritual sanctity of the Son of Heaven. Furthermore, this total lack of privacy served the ultimate goal of political legitimacy, the verification of the dragon bloodline. A fixed private restroom would have provided a space for secrets or deceptions that the court found intolerable. By maintaining a system where every biological movement was documented, the court created an unbroken chain of evidence regarding the consorts' lives. This total transparency ensured that any offspring born within the palace was undeniably the emperor's, with no room for doubt or bloodline contamination. In this world, the body of the individual was a vessel for the dynasty, and the absence of a toilet was the final tool to ensure that the vessel remained under total 24-hour state control. When the documentation ends, the labor begins. How did the elite use the most impure tasks to remind the lower class of their place? Let's explore Part 4. In the rigid social fabric of the Forbidden City, the management of human waste was never a mere logistical necessity. It functioned as a direct and visible metric of an individual's rank, power, and sanctity. Imperial ritual dictated a fundamental principle: the higher one's title, the further they must be detached from the physical burdens of existence. A fixed modern toilet system is an equalizing infrastructure. It functions the same way for everyone. By intentionally rejecting such a system, the empire ensured that even the most basic biological act became a staged performance of social superiority and dominance. This system of privilege was manifested through what can be termed the ritual of ultimate service. Since there was no plumbing to carry waste away, every ounce of impurity had to be managed manually by an army of low-ranking eunuchs and specialized servants. When a high-ranking member of the court had a need, it triggered a highly choreographed labor process. The vessel commode was not just an object, it was a masterpiece of craftsmanship. Looking deeper into this structure, such a manual process reinforced the biological distance between the ruler and the ruled. In a permanent restroom, the emperor and a common laborer would essentially be subservient to the same pipes and walls, a concept of shared infrastructure that the court found intolerable. Instead, by shifting the burden onto human labor, the hierarchy remained unbreakable. The heavy, unpleasant task of cleaning and carrying these vessels fell to the lowest of the low, whose lives were dedicated to ensuring the surroundings of the highest of the high remained immaculate. This sophisticated service transformed a dirty necessity into a ritual of dominance, ensuring that the hierarchy of the empire was maintained even in the most private moments. Beyond social rank, what cosmic terrors did the architects fear lay beneath the palace floors. Let's enter the spiritual battlefield. The architecture of the Forbidden City was never merely about physical shelter. It was organized according to strict cosmic principles and the ancient laws of feng shui. Every gate and hall was positioned to harness positive energy and maintain a harmonious flow of qi, the vital life force. In this spiritual framework, the construction of permanent pits or underground sewage systems directly beneath the palaces would be seen as a grave spiritual violation. To the imperial mind, allowing foul odors and decaying matter to stagnate under the very floors where the Son of Heaven resided was not just a hygiene issue, but a profound insult to the heavens that could disrupt the purity of the entire empire. From a metaphysical perspective, the palace ground was treated as a living skin. Digging deep into the earth to build latrines was seen as severing the dragon veins long mach that provided strength to the dynasty. A fixed latrine represents sinking qi, dead stagnant energy, which stands in direct opposition to the rising qi required for the emperor's throne. If a permanent sanitation system existed, the sacred ground would be pierced by the impurity of the mortal world, tarnishing the divine connection between the emperor and the universe. To resolve this tension without damaging the earth's energy, the imperial ritual chose to overlay reality with an artificial sensory experience. Instead of tackling waste through infrastructure, the court utilized aromatic displacement to maintain the olfactory sanctity of the space. The mobile commodes were filled with layers of fragrant sandalwood ash, incense powders, and dried flower petals. This was not just for comfort. It was a deliberate attempt to create an illusion of cleanliness. By ensuring that any biological act was immediately met with the scent of precious woods, the court effectively erased the physical reality of waste. Through this olfactory camouflage, the Forbidden City maintained its identity as a celestial realm where the stench of the mortal condition was systematically replaced by the fragrance of divinity. The most striking historical evidence of this luxury is found in the life of Empress Dowager Cixi. Her personal commode, known as the official casket, was a masterpiece carved from rare sandalwood in the shape of a large dragon. The dragon's eyes were inlaid with rubies, and its mouth held fine paper. To ensure an illusion of purity, the casket was filled with fragrant sandalwood ash. When waste fell, it was instantly buried and enveloped by the ash, neutralizing all sound and odor. For Cixi, a biological necessity was transformed into an elegant display of authority, where she never had to confront the impurity of her own body. The absence of toilets in the Forbidden City was a desperate effort to build a wall between the throne and the physical body. By erasing the restroom from the blueprints, the empire attempted to maintain the illusion that the emperor was a divine entity, untouched by the impurity of the mortal world. But what remains in the end? But history and biology have proven that all these disguises were futile. No amount of incense or ritual could stop the cycle of nature. Behind the golden tiles, the most powerful figures in history remained prisoners of their own flesh, bound by the same biological laws as any commoner. The truth is, you can design a palace without a single restroom, but you can never design a ruler who is free from the constraints of the flesh. The Forbidden City stands not as a symbol of perfection, but as a monument to the helplessness of power before the laws of existence.